What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Talk About Views, episode 185, the college football news. Now, today's episode, we're going to talk about Notre Dame because they got a new look for their hockey team. Plus, college football head coaches are on the hot seat, and which undefeated team will stay undefeated for the rest of the season. So let's head straight into it. We'll start this one in college football. We'll start off with Colorado State firing their head coach Jay Norvell after the loss to Hawaii at home. They're 2-5 on the year, 18-26 over the last 4 seasons under Norvell. I don't know too much about Colorado State, but just another vacancy that will be needing to be filled before probably the season's over, going into the postseason. Now let's end the score recaps. We'll start off with the 2 Thursday games, Louisville versus Miami. Louisville winning this one 24-21 on the road. Carson Beck, after the game, blaming his tight end for the game-winning interception. Unfortunately, though, he threw 4 interceptions in that game, which is a career high for Carson Beck in college. And I don't know how you blame your tight end for miscommunication when you've already thrown 3 interceptions before that pass, and that pass was not a good throw at all, regardless of what route he threw. Carson Beck, not a good leadership role right there. Now for Miami, they could be missing the ACC title game now because of this. Virginia and Georgia Tech both do not have any ranked teams in the ACC left to play, and neither of them have to play Miami. So that's not a good tiebreaker situation for the Hurricanes. And Louisville obviously has the head-to-head now over Miami. So if Louisville finishes out the season with an undefeated record for the last, 5 games of the year, they're obviously in front of Miami. Virginia or Georgia Tech team gets in as well. Miami will be missing the ACC title game. And they have not won the ACC since joining the conference. So this is not a good look for the Hurricanes. Yet again, though, preseason, I talked about how Miami just cannot be trusted due to the fact they lose games that they should not be losing. Another one last week, a game they should not be losing. They lose, and now it's going to cost them potentially the whole season for them. We'll move on. Number 25, Nebraska and Minnesota. Minnesota winning this one 24-6. Not a good game offensively from Nebraska. Defensively, not terrible, but the run game looked really good for Minnesota. A big win for them, knocking off the Cornhuskers. Now let's head into the Saturday matchups where we had so many good matchups, a lot of good games to discuss. Number 7, Texas Tech dropping to Arizona State 26-22. A huge win for the Sun Devils. They're finally back in the win column after getting smoked the week before, 42-10 against Utah. Not a good performance by Arizona State there. They come back, throw on some throwback uniforms, which look outstanding. A huge 10 out of 10 uniform combination right there by ASU. Texas Tech did not look good for the first 3.5 quarters, only 7 points up to that point, scoring 15 points in the last about 2-3 minutes. Had a Hail Mary at the end. Defense able to shut it down for one more play, one more stop. The field storm did happen, so ASU will probably get fined because of that, but that has not been announced if that has happened and how much it will cost them. Jordan Tyson, though, top wide receiver in the nation, definitely in the Big 12, now leads the Big 12 in all the following standings of the statistics: receptions, reception yards, reception touchdowns, reception yards per game, and 15-yard receptions. Really good performances by Jordan Tyson. He also got injured a little bit. Looked like he pulled a hamstring. Everyone was hoping he was a cramp. He played the rest of the game, but he did not look very good. Still went to his way. Still ended up getting some big catches. So Arizona State is going to have to monitor that. So that could be something looking into next week against Houston. But Arizona State, huge win regardless. Getting the win after a really bad loss, knocking off an undefeated team, which is potentially the best team in the Big 12 going into that weekend. Really big performance there. Now, my biggest problem still is Arizona State's red zone offense. They did get 2 touchdowns, which is something that we have not seen all season long, but the inconsistency of punching it in the red zone is just not really a recipe for success. They're able to get it done, though, against Texas Tech, so hopefully they're able to keep that going. They are the 79th ranked red zone offense, 31 trips, 26 scores, but 12 of those being field goals, 83.9% scoring rate for the Sun Devils. We'll move on. Number 4, Texas A&M beating Arkansas 45-42. A really close matchup between those ones. Number 5, Ole Miss versus number 9, Georgia. That one went Georgia's way, 43-35. A big win for the Dogs. Number 11, Tennessee lost. Number 6, Alabama, 37-20. Vanderbilt ended up beating LSU, a 17 versus 10 matchup there. 31-24 victory for Vanderbilt. Georgia Tech, ranked 12th in the nation, went over to Duke and just squeaked out a victory, 27-18, a big fourth quarter by the Jackets there. Number 22, USC lost. Number 13, Notre Dame, 34-24. And now this, to me, was the game of the weekend. Yes, Notre Dame, 2 losses. If they got a third loss, in my opinion, unless something crazy happened with everybody else in the nation, Notre Dame was done. They had to win that game. They're at home, so that's a huge advantage there, but they had to win that game just because 3 losses and the rest of their schedule, there's nothing there for Notre Dame to get some votes getting into the playoffs. For USC, yes, you'd want to see them win this game if you're a USC fan, obviously for the rivalry's stake here, but mainly because USC, who knows, that Big Ten is so clustered up top that they're going to have to hope a lot of other teams lose. Now with 2 losses in the conference, I don't think there's a high likelihood that SC gets in, but they have a better chance to make the playoffs than I would say Notre Dame if they did get that loss, and they did, unfortunately. So USC's season's not over, but they definitely got to be perfect the rest of the year, and also hope that a couple big teams do end up dropping some games. The Holy War went number 15 BYU's way. They beat number 23 Utah 24-21. BYU did storm the field, was fined $50,000 because of it. But the CEO of Crumble Cookie, don't know if he's an alumni, but it does make me feel like he is, went out and said he'd pay the entire fine for BYU for the huge win there. So next we had Washington State just falling short to number 18 Virginia, 22-20. Back-to-back weeks that Washington State has actually looked really good on the road. Unfortunately, came out to 2 losses, so they dropped to 3-4 on the year. Virginia still stays at the big top 25 school in the ACC, so could be an interesting thing to see what happens with UVA, the rest of the season. Number 21, Texas, first number of unranked Kentucky. It went Texas's way this week, 16-13. Not a good performance overall, though. Sarkisian was asked about the play calling and if he will continue to make the play calling. And he says, that's why I got hired. I was really good offensive coordinator. I'm always going to tap into the strengths that I have, and I think being a play caller on the offense is one of my strengths. Some may disagree. That's okay. Now, I don't really care if he does call the offense or he doesn't, kind of thing. Yes, he actually had some very good years where he was elsewhere. Over at Alabama is what mainly people think about. But when you look at his offense and the ranks, it's not very good. Total offense, 79th in the nation. There are, I think, 136 teams, just to put in perspective there. Third down conversion, 88th in the nation. First down conversion offense, 111th, tied with Rice this year. Passing offense, they're 77, 218 yards per game, 12 touchdowns. They're averaging 7.5 yards an attempt. The red zone percentage is at 80%, tied for 92nd with Clemson, LSU, Marshall, and Rutgers. 25 trips, 20 scores, 5 of those being field goals. Rushing offense, 73rd in the nation, 149.4 yards per game, 9 touchdowns, 4.1 yards per attempt. Sacks allowed, tied for 69th with Alabama, Fresno State, Louisiana, Marshall, Memphis, NC State, Oklahoma State, Purdue, Wazoo, and Western Michigan. 13 sacks for 76 yards. And lastly, scoring offense, tied for 79th with Syracuse at 26.7 points per game. So this offense has not looked really good, even statistically has not looked good. Yes, Arch Manning is the talk of the town when it comes to that offense, but he, in my opinion, has not been all that great. Should Sark give it up? I still don't think so. There's more to just the play calling. It's got to be the players executing this, and I don't think the players are executing most of these plays, so I would not blame Sark for that. So just something to note, though. Texas offense, definitely not like Texas offense last year. Now we head to the American Conference with number 22 Memphis visit UAB, and UAB Blazers get the win 31-24, a big upset for UAB. Washington went to Michigan, lost that one 24-7. Houston beat Arizona on a last-second field goal 31-28. Tulane beat Army on a Hail Mary, throw it up. Hopefully they catch it. Not the last play of the game, but a big dicey play. 24-17 win for Tulane. Buffalo beat UMass 28-21. Yes, why am I talking about UMass? They can't win. They're not going to win the rest of the year. They had a pick in the last minute. Ended up going 3 and out. Buffalo had all 3 of their timeouts. They call all 3 of them. Get that ball back. They score with just about no time remaining to take the win. 28-21 for Buffalo. So big win from behind for them. SMU beat Clemson 35-24. UNLV drops their first game of the year to Boise State 56-31. Florida beat Mississippi State going into the bye week now 23-21. Yet they fire Billy Napier, $21 million buyout. Half of it has to be paid within the next 30 days. And if he gets a job at another school, that has to be immediately paid out the complete salary of that $21 million. So Billy, 22-23 in his career at Florida over the last 4 years. Really, this is a long time coming. He has not looked really good. He's had some really bad losses. He's had some pretty solid wins, but for the most part, just not good enough for the Florida Gators. Supposedly, the AD for Florida, Scott Strickland, has already made some calls, including Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin potentially going over to Florida. I personally do not think this is the right move for Kiffin. He really made the Ole Miss team into what it is now. I don't think Ole Miss, of what I can remember, was all that great before Kiffin got there. Kiffin's now made it into a consistently top 10 to 15 school in the nation the last couple of years. I think he's got something going well there. Even though I'm not a huge Lane Kiffin fan, I think this is the best move to stay at Ole Miss. Yet I don't think Florida will say no. I think they're going to keep trying to offer him a big contract there. He'll probably listen to it, but I really doubt that he'll say yes in the long term there. So I don't think Lane Kiffin will make the move. The other name I'm hearing, John Gruden, potentially making the move to Florida. I've heard he has expressed loudly that he would like to coach in the SEC. I've also heard that he just wants to coach in general. So could John Gruden get back into the coaching room over at Florida? I don't think so either, but this is really early. This just happened. So we have a lot of time between now and then to see who Florida's going to hire. And plus, there's also a guy named James Franklin, who I don't think is that bad of a coach. Yeah, he can't win a big game, but can he get Florida to that next step in their evolution of football back to their old days? I think there's a good chance that they do bring Franklin in. That could be the right guy. But again, time will tell. This just happened, and I'm just reporting the news on what I hear. Speaking of Penn State, though, they drop another game to Iowa this time, 25-24. Not a good performance by Penn State at all. That team has just scrapped it, called it quits. They'll be lucky to get a bowl game at the very least. UCLA, the Cinderellas, win it again on pretty much a last-second field goal against Maryland, 20-17. And lastly, Florida State dropped another game, this time to Stanford, 20-13 loss. They got stuffed on the goal line on the last play of the game. Really big stop by the defense for the Cardinal. That's 4 straight losses, though, for the Seminoles. They've lost to Virginia, Miami, Pitt, and now Stanford. Haven't won an ACC game since September 21st of last year. They are 0-9 in the last 9 ACC games, and they are 5-14 over the last 2 seasons. Again, they started 3-0 to start off the year against Alabama, and they won that game. Yet now they're 0-4 in conference play. What does this mean for Mike Norvell? Initially, a lot of reports saying that he would not make it to Tuesday as the head coach, but earlier today on Monday, the AD and Florida State came out and said we are all in on Mike Norvell for the rest of the year, also making it think he's going to have the rest of the season. He is done after this season is over. So I would not be surprised to see Norvell just coach out the rest of the year, get that buyout, find a new coaching spot after this year. But I will not think that Norvell will be going to a high team. He's probably going to have to work his way back up. Not saying that he's going to go down to like Memphis level again, but it's not going to be a team like Florida or Penn State. I don't see that. I would see probably a middle of the pack Power 4 team or lower based off his performance by himself at Florida State. And they also announced that this would also cost Florida State $100 million if they were to fire him right now due to buyouts and the other staff being fired and hiring a brand new staff to come in. So that's a lot of money that Florida State would have to cough over. I don't think they're in the realm of spending that kind of money right now, especially with the season pretty much being a dud now. I would say Florida State's fine with keeping Norvell for the rest of the year, even though everybody knows they are not happy with Mike Norvell. All right, let's head into who's going to stay undefeated for the rest of the regular season. We have 6 teams that are undefeated, and we're going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most likely to not lose a game, where 1 is most likely to lose a game. We'll start off with BYU. They are 7-0 for the first time since last year, actually, and they finished 11-2 last year. So this year, who do they have remaining? Iowa State, Texas Tech, both on the road, TCU at home, Cincinnati on the road, and UCF at home. Likelihood of going undefeated, I'm saying 1 out of 10 for them. I think they have the hardest schedule in the Big 12 remaining. You got to face Iowa State, who, yes, is not that great. They're 5-2. They haven't looked all that great with Rocco Beck this year. The injuries, the new guys, not looking too good. But Iowa State on the road is not an easy place to play it. Texas Tech, yes, they're coming off a loss to Arizona State, but they're still a 1-loss team at home. I think Tech is going to be a tough one to lose or to play. TCU on the road, I think, could be a 50-50 game. We'll see what TCU looks like in the next couple of weeks. Cincinnati looks really good this year, and they're on the road, so Cincinnati getting a home field advantage there. UCF is going to be the cakewalk of the remaining schedule here. BYU should win that one. But the rest of these, they could go 0-4 the next 4 weeks. I don't know. That's why I'm giving them a 1 out of 10. I don't think BYU will finish the year undefeated. Now let's head to Indiana. The last time they were 7-0 was also last year, and also they finished 11-2. Now their remaining schedule is at home versus UCLA, on the road for Maryland, Penn State, back home for Wisconsin, and then on the road for Purdue to finish off the year. Likelihood out of 10, I give it a 9 out of 10. I think the hardest schedule is going to be UCLA, and they're doing that at home. So I don't think there's a good chance that UCLA wins that game. I'm still going to root for them. I like them a lot. They're super exciting to watch. But Indiana pretty much has a cakewalk schedule. Their hardest road schedule, it's not going to be Purdue, obviously. It's not going to be Penn State based off what they've been doing the last 4 weeks. It's definitely got to be Maryland. I mean, so Maryland, UCLA, if they win those 2 games, they're winning the rest of the season out. So I'm thinking it's a really high chance. Not a 10 out of 10, because obviously it's college football. Anything can happen week after week. But I give it a 9 out of 10. I really think Indiana is going to be a tough team to beat for the rest of the year. Staying in the Big Ten, Ohio State. They're 7-0 for the first time since 2023. They also finished 11-2 that season. Their remaining schedule is at home versus Penn State, on the road versus Purdue, at home against UCLA, at home against Rutgers, and then on the road against Michigan. Now, the first 4 games, I think they're winning those games. I don't think it's going to be close. UCLA, again, going to be the toughest of those 4, but they're at home. Hard chance for UCLA to win that game. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 just for the fact that they had to play Michigan and had to play Michigan on the road. Michigan is a very good team. They're up and down, yes, when it comes to performance-wise, but Michigan has their number. The last 4 years has gone the Wolverines' way. I know I'm a big Ohio State fan, but this is going to be a tough game again. Rivalry games go anyone's way. Yes, there are the lopsided rivalry games, but rivalry games could mean anything. Michigan has got their number, so I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10. I would even be likely to put it down as an 8 out of 10, but Ohio State looks really good this year. I'm going to go with the fact that they've done very consistently good this year. So 9 out of 10 for Ohio State. We head to the SEC. We had Texas A&M. The last time they were 7-0 was 1994, and they finished that season also undefeated, 10-0-1. They did get that one tie, though, in that 94 season. The rest of their schedule is at LSU, at Missouri, versus South Carolina and Stanford, and then on the road to end the year at Texas. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a tougher one. I think there's a good chance that they don't go undefeated, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for me. I could see them beating LSU. That one's going to be a tough game, but I could see them beating that. Missouri, I don't think is all that great, so I think they're winning that one. South Carolina at home, just because it's at home, I think it's going to be a blowout, so I think they're going to win that one. Stanford is their quote-unquote bye-week cakewalk. I think Texas on the road at the last game of the year, knowing what everything is going to be at stake at that point, I think Texas is going to come out and be a tough team to beat that year, with that week, So I think Texas is going to be their toughest game. There's a couple others. LSU could be, Missouri could be, just because they're on the road. So I give it a 6 out of 10. And also A&M, they're known for losing at least 1 or 2 games that they probably shouldn't. So there's a good chance that happens again this year. Let's head to the ACC, where we have Georgia Tech. They're 7-0 for the first time since 1966, where they finished 9-2 that year. So they didn't finish that year very good with those last 4 games going 2-2. Can they do better this year? Their 5 games remaining on the schedule is Syracuse at home, NC State on the road, Boston College on the road, Pitt and Georgia to end the year at home. Now, I think Georgia Tech's a very good team. That's my underdog team. That's my ACC championship team. I love this team preseason. I'm loving them now. The bad thing is they are a very scary team. They're not very consistent when it comes to scoring offense. Once they do get the ball rolling, they look really good. But can they keep that going for the rest of the season? I think they could. But I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because I think that Georgia game is going to be their hardest game. Luckily, it's at home. It could be a top 10 matchup between those two teams. So I'm hoping that's a really good matchup once we get to rivalry weekend. But I think that's going to be their toughest one. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because I think there could be another team in those, which might be the Pitt game, to be honest, that they could end up falling a game. And they're getting to the point right now where the ACC cannot be losing big games. So Georgia Tech's got to go undefeated the rest of the year. And the last one, we head to a group of 5 team, the American Conference Navy. The last time they were 6-0 was actually last year. They finished 10-2 on the year. Really good year last year for Navy. The remaining schedule for them is at home versus FAU, on the road against North Texas and Notre Dame, back home for USF, on the road against Memphis, and then they're at the neutral site against Army. Now, likelihood for Navy to go undefeated, I don't think it's all that great. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. I think for the fact that they got Notre Dame. I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame, especially off the paper. But, again, anything could happen. Navy has had the teams where they look really good. Maybe they get past Notre Dame, but I think there's a trap game against South Florida, who's a ranked team right now. They're 18th in the nation. I think South Florida's pretty good. They could lose that one. On the road against Memphis. Memphis just getting dropped out of the top 25, but they're still a 6-1 team right now. I think Memphis could beat them. So that's 3 straight games that I do not think they're going to be going 3-0. So Navy, 2 out of 10. I would love to see them go undefeated just for the fact that have a Navy team undefeated and maybe a potential playoff team would be outstanding and fun to watch. But I don't think it's likely at all. 2 out of 10 for me. For Navy to go undefeated. So that's my thoughts on the undefeated teams. Let me know down low in the comments. Do you guys agree with this? Do you guys think there's another team that is going to ruin this undefeated season for any of these other teams here? But now let's head into the top 25 where Ohio State stays put at number 1. Indiana and A&M gets a +1 to 2 and 3. Alabama gets a +2 to 4. Georgia gets +4 to 5. Oregon gets a +2 to 6. Georgia Tech gets a +5 to 7. Ole Miss drops 3 to 8. Miami drops 7 to 9. Vanderbilt gets a +7 to 10. BYU gets a +4 to 11. Notre Dame and Oklahoma gets a +1 to 12 and 13. Texas Tech drops 7 to 14. Missouri gets a +1 to 15. Virginia gets a +2 to 16. Tennessee drops 6 to 17. South Florida gets a +1 to 18. Louisville goes from unranked to 19. LSU drops 10 to 20. Cincinnati gets a +3 to 21. Texas drops 1 to 22. And the last 3 were all unranked. Illinois goes to 23, ASU to 24, and Michigan to 25. The teams that drop out this week: USC from 20, Memphis from 22, Utah from 23, and Nebraska from 25. Other receiving votes: USC at 97, Utah at 40, Tulane at 37, Houston at 34, and Navy at 28. Now let's head to the underdog picks. Last week there was no college episode. I ran out of time. Did not think an episode was worth it on Friday afternoon based on the fact that college football had already started based off of the Louisville game in Miami and plus Nebraska versus Minnesota. So that didn't seem a very good chance that you guys would have listened to that one. So 2 weeks ago, my underdog pick was UCLA, a +7.5 versus Michigan State. They ended up smoking Michigan State 38-13. So this week, I got UCLA again. So I'm at a season total of 24 points, and my plus minus this week for UCLA is plus 23.5 against number 2 Indiana. Yes, the likelihood they're winning this game is close to 0 because Indiana's a great team. UCLA is still a losing team record, and I don't think UCLA is going to win this game. I think they're keeping it close, though. The offense has not looked great last week, but it looked great the last 2 weeks before that. Defense has looked pretty damn consistently good. I don't think they've let over 20 points the last 2 or 3 weeks potentially now. So I think the defense keeps it close. The offense actually scores. I think UCLA at least covers at 23.5 and gets me some more points to that 24-point total for me. But again, I do not think they are beating Indiana. All right, games to watch this weekend. I got UCLA versus number 2 Indiana. That's 9 in the morning on Fox. Again, I think Indiana is winning that game, but I'm excited to watch that just for the fact that UCLA is the Cinderella story right now. I would love to see them go undefeated and just be the spoiler for everybody else moving forward. Number 8, Ole Miss versus number 13, Oklahoma. I got Ole Miss in this one. I think they're going to bounce back after the loss this past weekend. Number 15, Missouri versus number 10, Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt is a very good team. I told my dad, the podcast dad, I said, hey, I think Vanderbilt is actually a top 10 team in the nation. He didn't really say too much about that. That was before the rankings came out and that game against LSU even ended. Vanderbilt, now is a top 10 school. I think they keep on rolling. They win that one at home against Mizzou. Number 11, BYU versus Iowa State. Yeah, Iowa State's not that great, but BYU is looking really good. I think you guys got to start watching BYU now, unfortunately. I think BYU wins this game against Iowa State. Number 3, Texas A&M versus number 20, LSU. I got A&M. I don't think LSU's all that great. They've had moments of greatness, technically, I guess. But A&M is just much better than LSU, and they're more consistently better. I'm going A&M on the road. And last one, Houston versus number 24, Arizona State. 6-1 Houston, 5-2 Arizona State. A lot on the line when it comes to Big 12 championship games here. And I think Houston has a great chance to beat Arizona State, but give me the Sun Devils in this one, not because I'm an ASU fan, but for the fact that I think ASU is just rolling and they're going to keep on going with that. All right, we head to college hockey now, where we going to start off with Notre Dame. Now, they came out with a college football leprechaun logo. They're kind of getting rid of the old leprechaun that looks like he's in a fighting stance. Getting rid of that, and they're going to go to sports-specific logos. We got a college football one before the season started. Now we got our hockey one, and this one looks great. A really cool looking logo. The guy's on skates. He's holding a hockey stick. He looks mean. He looks mad. 8.2 out of 10 for me. I just think the original logo looks a lot better than all these other sports-specific logos that we've seen so far. Again, we've only seen 2, but I think the original leprechaun is better than the modern sports-specific one. 8.2 out of 10 is still not a bad score. I like the elements of him playing hockey, but I still think the original one is better. Now, because we got this logo, we actually got a new alternate jersey from Notre Dame, and they wore it this past weekend. It's a new white jersey with the new sports-specific leprechaun logo on the front. It's a white jersey with the blue and green stripe at the bottom. Inside the blue stripe, though, is that Irish Gaelic chain-like pattern that we have seen on past uniforms from other sports that Notre Dame has had. So I think it looks really good. It's incorporated close enough that you could see it, but from far, it just looks like a normal blue stripe. Really nice touch there. The font is blue, nothing too special about the font. The back numbers, though, are outlined in white with a little bit of green for dimension. Kind of gives off a little bit of a 3D look there. The shoulder logos are green cheer marks on both shoulders. Gold helmets, like we've seen for football and hockey the past X amount of years. Blue shorts and blue gloves. The white socks have the blue and green stripe on it, but no pattern inside the blue. What do I get this out of 10? I give it an 8.4 out of 10. I think the uniform looks really nice. The only thing I'm missing is some gold. There's only blue and green on this. The only gold is from the logo, and the logo doesn't have that much gold either. So I would like to see just a little bit more gold in this uniform, but having the gold helmets is just outstanding. I mean, you guys seen a picture of them. You saw the picture of even the goalie wearing his pads and a gold helmet on that. It looks outstanding. So really nice touch by Notre Dame with this new logo and uniform for the rest of the season. Let's head into the score recaps now. We'll start off with Thursday. We had number 19 Minnesota State tying number 17 Wisconsin 1-1. Then we had to Friday. Number 4 Michigan State beat number 1 Boston University 4-2. Number 7 Maine tied with number 10 Quinnipiac 4-4. Number 15 Ohio State lost number 12 UConn 3-2. Robert Morris gets smoked by number 3 Michigan 10-2. Number 20 Colorado College beat Northern Michigan in overtime 2-1. Number 2 Western Michigan beat UMass Lowell 2-1. Long Island lost to number 6 Penn State in overtime 4-5. Number 19 Minnesota State tied with number 17 Wisconsin 2-2. Number 16 Arizona State dropped to Augustana 4-2. Number 14, Minnesota lost number 8, North Dakota 5-2. Number 5, Denver lost to Lindenwood 4-3. On Saturday, number 10, Quinnipiac beat number 7, Maine 4-0. Now, number 15, Ohio State beat number 12, UConn 4-2. Number 4, Michigan State beat number 1, Boston University 4-3. Number 16, Arizona State lost to Augustana, though, 5-2. Number 14, Minnesota beat number 8, North Dakota 5-1. And Bentley lost to number 11, UMass 4-5. Now let's head into the top 20, where Michigan State is now the new number 1. They jump up 2 spots, 2-1. Western Michigan State is put at 2. Michigan gets plus 1-3. Boston University drops 3-4. Penn State gets a plus 1-5. Quinnipiac gets a plus 4-6. Denver drops 2-7. North Dakota and Boston College State put at 8-9. Maine drops 3-10. UConn and Minnesota gets a plus 1-11 and 12. UMass drops down 2-13. Ohio State gets a plus 2-14. Providence drops 1-15. Colorado College gets plus 3-16. Wisconsin State's put at 17. Minnesota Duluth goes from unranked to 18. Cornell and Minnesota State drop 1 each to 19 and 20. The only team to drop out this week was Arizona State from 16. Other receiving votes was Augustana, ASU, Union, Northeastern, and St. Thomas. Games of the weekend, only 2 college games to really talk about. College football, number 3, Texas A&M versus number 20, LSU. That's 4:30 p.m. on ABC. And for hockey, you got number 3, Michigan versus number 2, Western Michigan. This is going to be a great matchup between these two squads. Thursday, it's going to be 4 p.m. on the Big Ten Network, so you're going to be able to watch that one pretty easily. On Friday, it's going to be at 4 p.m. on NCHC TV, so that one's going to be a little bit tougher to watch. Got to have a subscription to watch that one. But Thursday's game on the Big Ten Network, going to be a great matchup between those two. Very interested to watch that game. All right, guys, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening and watching. 185 episodes in the books. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, the bell icon so you guys are notified when episodes like this drop. Make sure you guys go follow the socials because I'm going to try to post more on those. And make sure you guys watch some college sports because it is getting really fun to watch now that we're seeing more in sports. More and more sports get back in action. So we'll see you guys next week and enjoy the weekend.